Yeah, greetings and welcome, comrades. Welcome to our reading club. And today we are reading what you usually read, which is Defeating Dictators on Sundays. We are doing a review of this book, and we've been learning various issues and various points as we move along. And at this particular moment, we are in the last part of the modes of operations or modus operandi of dictators. We've come all the way from their support base, all the military elements. We look at how they control the judiciary, the electoral process. We look at all that element. So now we're in the last part on the external props of despotic regimes. I believe we discussed last time a bit on the street protest, but we'll have to read the street protest today, just for the purposes of review. Then we will continue with our reading, which is going to measure on these props, external props. But we want to understand how the despotic regimes or despots also get support from external forces and how external forces influence the despots. But before we do that, let us just to reread again the crackdown on street protest. We may not discuss it much, but I want us to read that, and then we go straight to concentrating on the reading on the external props. So greetings to you all, and may I request any of our members who is present who can read for us this crackdown on street protest. Then we can go and focus on the external props. So greetings to you, Sawundo, Sister Tapua, Brother Usu, and to all those who will be joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and let's do what we usually do. So please, if there's anybody who can read for us this crackdown on street protest, then we'll concentrate on the other part. We can take 2 minutes on anybody who want to comment on this, but you can go to the external props. That is the key concern of our discussion today. Anybody willing to read for us? I can't hear anyone.
Yeah, I will read. Hello?
Tapo, I want us to read crackdown on street protests, but we'll be concentrating on the next subtopic, on the external props.
Okay, I think you've got some background. I can't quite hear what you're saying because there's some music going on. Beg your pardon. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Sister
Hello?
Tapua, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. Okay.
You can hear me?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Now we're on the crackdown on street protest. Then we'll go to the subtopic on external props.
Okay. Crackdown on street protests. Every now and then, an event may occur that provokes public outrage and sends people into the streets to protest. Such protests may be one against a rigged or stolen election, as occurred in Ethiopia, May 2005, Zimbabwe, March 2007, Kenya, December 2007, and Iran, June 2009. Second, against the general state of political repression and lack of human rights. For example, pro-democracy demonstrations in Tiananmen Square in China in 1989, Buddhist monks' protest against Chinese rule in Tibet in March 2008 and 2011. Buddhist monks' pro-democracy protests in Myanmar, Burma in April 2008 and September 2009. Protests against oppressive rule and marginalization of the Uyghur of China in June 2009. Can you move me up, please? Hello? Yes. Thank you. Against an economic crisis or harsh living conditions, as in Egypt in April 2010, or against a lack of jobs, as in Tunisia in December 2010, when riots eventually toppled the dictator Ben Ali. Against a specific government policy, for example, a hike in fuel or food prices. Against other issues such as police brutality and corruption. In Latin America, protests and other contentious strategies were common and played an important role during the democratization of the 1990s, declining somewhat afterwards. The last decade, however, has witnessed a resurgence of overall protest activity with varying degrees of intensity and political relevance. In countries such as Argentina, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru, street protests have become a way to vent grievances against social injustices, to achieve certain political objectives, and to express policy demands. In other cases, like Chile and Brazil, protests are more sporadic and far less meaningful in effecting policy change. Nevertheless, there have been two constants in street protests against despotic, sorry, I need to be moved up. Hello, okay. Nevertheless, there have been two constants in street protests against despotic regimes. The first has always been the excessive use of force to quell them. Dictators frequently panic and unleash the full fury of their security forces against often unarmed protesters. In Myanmar, Burma, the military junta ferociously crushed a peaceful nationwide uprising in 1988, killing an estimated 3,000 civilians. In Libya, brutal clampdowns on street protesters claimed in excess of 6,000 lives in February 2011 alone. The second constant has always been attempts to shut down the media and prevent images of the protests and the brutal clampdown from being circulated around the world. Hundreds of thousands of Iranians poured into the streets to protest the re-election of President Mohammad Ahmadinejad in a brazenly rigged vote on June 11, 2009. The illegal regime reacted by shutting down independent media outlets and blocking access to the internet and cell phone text messages. Phone lines of opposition figures were tapped, and internet activity was closely monitored. Opposition leaders were trailed and placed under close surveillance. To effect a news blackout, the government blocked certain websites and services, including Farsi BBC, Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail. Foreign journalists, such as BBC correspondents, were barred from leaving their hotel rooms to report in the streets, and several newspapers were closed down. These were exactly the same techniques initially employed, but to no avail, by the despotic regime of Ben Ali of Tunisia and Mubarak of Egypt. In Guinea, troops loyal to Captain Musa Dadis Camara opened fire on unarmed protesters in September 2009, killing 157 of them. Some female protesters were raped by the soldiers in broad daylight.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Tapwe. That is the scenario of protests in Africa. The trend has not changed. It's remained the same all along. And in case anybody want to comment anything in regards to that, please feel free to come in before we move to the next subheading, which we will concentrate on the external props for the despotic regime. Anybody want to comment on that previous paragraph?
I think just to say, we are living through a lot of these in Zimbabwe, particularly the shutdown of media and people being prevented from demonstrating. They make it really hard to try and organize anything because you're supposed to apply to the police will take their time to respond or not respond at all, or just delay so that there's frustration. So it's a lived experience.
Thank you. In Namibia, Brother Windhoek, is there any differences? Do you have some peaceful protests over there?
I can't hear you clearly. What is the supposition?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Brother Pigeon. You are completely gone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
I'm saying, is there anything different in Namibia?
Anything concerning what?
In regards to this protest, do you have a peaceful one there?
Can somebody please translate what Brother Pigeon is saying? I can't hear him.
I think he's just asking what your experience has been in Namibia. Is there anything relatable in what we've just read?
Yeah, I know. Yes. The characters of former President Sam Nujoma was that of a despot. Cracking down on the media, cracking down on opposition, and all these type of characteristics. He depicted them very well.
So it's the same thing over there as well.
Very much same. The most popular newspaper, the Namibian, was banned. They wouldn't get any support from government. No advertisement of government tenders in that newspaper, and all those type of things.
Okay. Since you're in the same boat, is Chifomo? Mr. Chifomo?
Hello. There's been this administration would not allow demonstrations. So they'll be given permission because they have to ask for permission. They'll be given permission, but on the day they'll be told not to. So it carried on and on and on. Different groups tried. Those who still went on the streets were met by tear gas and pangas, and so a lot of people were hurt. But in the previous one, they would allow demonstrations, and then obviously by allowing it, and because it was the opposition trying to get rid of him anyway, the demonstrations were fierce, and a lot of property was damaged. A lot of people were injured. Some died. And then they won the elections through demonstrations, but they won't allow people to demonstrate this time around. So, like I said in the other meeting, I was expecting maybe violence during these nominations and elections. We've only got 40 days to go. But it's been quiet. He gave a statement to say there should be no violence, there should be no this and that. And for whatever reason, there has been none. I'm suspecting, as somebody was reading, because I was driving when you were reading, I'm suspecting the vice president he has chosen, because he's ruthless, people know that if they cause any problems against what the president has said, because he had to issue a statement. He's never issued a statement about any pangas and whatever. But this time he issued a statement just before the nominations. So I think they understand that the guy their leader has nominated as the running mate, the vice president, will not joke. He will lock them up. He will, and he will. He doesn't allow all this. He's a new politician. He's a new politician, maybe just 4 or 5 years old. He's coming from the private sector and outside the country. I think he was in Botswana, Namibia, and all these places where there's a bit of discipline. So, and he's been holding lectures up and down the country, how other people's manage their business and stuff, and wondering why Malawi just lets things go. So it's been quiet so far. I don't know about the election, whether it will still be this quiet. So it's exciting times at the moment. They've done the polls, and it shows that the previous leader is winning. But anything can change, because another new politician who is the current vice president, but from another party, who replaced the guy who was killed, he too has a different style of politics. So he's kind of messed up the arrangement of because he didn't even feature in the polls. But since he started campaigning and did his nomination, he's literally flipped the whole chart upside down. So he's one of the leading politicians. So we were yet to see what's going to happen and who is going to, because they're trying to do what happened last time, to ally. Because in places like South Africa, they do coalitions after the elections, then they form coalitions. In my country, they form before the elections. And that's what caused problems last time. But they're still doing it this time around. But anyway, we're yet to see what's going to happen if he wins, whether there's going to be any riots. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Osu, we say you are able to speak, Brother Osu?
I think as he said, he indicated that he has got a noisy background and he will only be listening in unless the situation has improved.
Okay.
That's what he said in the chat.
Okay. In Kenya, it's the same thing. Just recently, I told you they closed all the media houses. They said that the media houses should not air live coverage of protests. And they switch off media houses that were trying to air live coverage. Sometimes they threaten to withdraw licenses, what they do here. In killing, they have managed to kill so many. In fact, Even this year alone, June 22, they killed almost 200 and something young people. Last year, they killed more than that number. So they always kill protesters, and they're now coming with the law. But we must now give them notice, tell them where we are going to pass, how many people are we going to be, and all those nonsense, which is basically to curtail the freedom of protest. Because, of course, Constitution says that you have right to protest. You only inform police officers for security. But they don't bring security. Unlike in Europe, I see sometimes people are protesting and the officers are behind the road trying to protect the protest. But in Africa, here, it's not the same. When you see a police officer, that's the beginning of a war struggle in the protest. So I don't know when will they change this behavior. How we know?
Yeah, about protest, you know, they tell you you must apply to the Inspector General of the Police for protection and escort. And you must apply 14 days before the day of your anticipated demonstration. And then the police inspector general will give you permission in writing. And this permission only comes half an hour before the expiry of the 14th day. Meaning the demonstrators and everybody has been put in panic. This demonstration will be unlawful and the police will crack down on us, so we will not take part in the demonstration. That's how they demoralize the people. I have staged or organized 2 nationwide protests, and we had to go without the police approval, because they would delay these things deliberately so that the demonstration is a flop. So I don't know how rules and laws will be changed. Because if they give you the permission now, you cannot defer it to a next date. The moment you move the date, you must apply again. So it's a heavy crackdown. It's a demoralizing one.
Okay. Sister Tapua and Sister Chisomo, you've lived out there for some time. Is the behavior of police officers out there the same like the police officers in Africa here?
What did you say?
I'm asking, during protests out there where you are, or where you've lived in Europe, do the police officers behave the same way they behave during protests in Africa here?
Okay, Sister Tapua is responding first.
My experience has been, I've lived both in England and Scotland. My experience has been they use what is called positive policing, where they accept that people are adults and they're responsible. They will only deal with the protesters who might be causing violence. Then they get those people, but otherwise they avoid confrontation altogether. I also think it's because the police themselves, if they're overbearing, they can be sued. So they take responsibility and they can be sued in their personal capacity. Because once they're out there, they're responsible for what they are doing as individuals. So they really try and follow the law.
Sister Grace?
Let me go in the house. Let me go in the house first. I can't speak at the moment.
Sam, welcome. We are actually discussing the behavior of police officers and the crackdown of protests in various countries in Africa as the protest tool. In South Africa, do you always have peaceful protests? And how the police officers behave during protests?
Brother Pigeon, I didn't get you very clear, but I would like to just listen in. It's the first time we joined this group.
Hello, Elder Sam, can you hear me now?
No, I didn't get your question, but I was saying I wanted just to listen because it's the first time I joined this group.
No,
What was the
we are
question?
discussing, understand, we are discussing about how the despotic regime crack down on protesters, how the regimes crack down on protesters or street protests. And we are seeing that they torture people, they deny media rights to air this, they kill protesters. Is this actually also what experienced in South Africa? Or the South African case is a bit different. The police officers behave a bit different.
Brother Pigeon, if I get your question or if I read here, I think it's the same approach. I always say, you know, in so-called democratic South Africa, it's funny for me because we act the same way like during apartheid. Whenever our people takes to the streets, and most of the time they take to the streets because they appealed, they have done all things, and then when things come to a standstill, our people go to the streets. But we react the same way every time our people go to demonstrate. Is the first people that come on the scene is police, and police are armed with riot gear or whatever they call it. And most of the time they will say they are firing rubber bullets. There's something called rubber bullets. And according to us, there's nothing like that. It's a bullet because people get hurt, people are wounded. And my question has always been, you know, having been a country where freedom fight or people went out to fight for freedom, and in that struggle we had what we call political commissars that were orientating us, that were conscientizing us, that were telling us that we must be one with the people, with the masses. Every time when there's something like that, our people going to the streets, I believe we should be calling those commissars again to say, hey, go and find out what the people, go and talk to the people, go and educate the people. But unfortunately, the first call is the police, and normally the police are overhandedness upon the people. There's always arrest, there's always deaths or wounding of people. And most of the time, the government finds itself in courts trying to defend what they did against the people. Thanks.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
it. That's very interesting. Sorry, can I speak?
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Tapu.
Okay. No, just about to say, I think that's very interesting because in South Africa, if the government can still be taken to court, there's still some hope there. But I think we need to remember that the police in our context is there to protect the capitalists and the neo-capitalists and neo-colonialists because they don't have the people's interests at heart. All they're trying to do is either protect their property and protect the interests, not of the workers. So that when we get into government after a liberation struggle and we've not changed the rules, what we've simply done is replace the erstwhile enemy by ourselves, and then we get into the class struggle and the class position. The difference is, in the United Kingdom, for example, whilst the police is there to protect the interests of the capitalists, they're very aware of the power that the ordinary person holds, and therefore they don't want to endanger that property. So the interests are the same, but the way they approach the people is different. So in the UK, you get them almost coaxing them to behave themselves, giving them the responsibility, as long as they do not undermine the capitalist base, as long as they do not cross the lines, as it were. Whereas here, the assumption is there is us and them right from the beginning. So that's what I think makes the difference.
Now, in Kenya scenario, it's a bit different. One is that the police officers have been taken to court. Some have been prosecuted. Others are still having cases in court due to their misuse of their power during protest or the use of excessive power. Like, I know there's a case of a police officer who killed one of the young men last year during the protest. This case is still in court. It's been appearing before the court. Because in Kenya, we have a body called Independent Police Oversight Authority. So they arrest various police officers. They even come sometimes to arrest even an OCS, the one in charge of a central police department, or an OCPD. There's an independent department also that arrests traffic police officers who take bribes in the road. And some are actually demoted, fired, others are arrested, others are detained. It has happened several times. But citizens have also been very vigilant. So sometimes even citizens decide to beat police officers. In our law also is allowed that the citizens can arrest any case, in case there's any criminal offense, a citizen can arrest the person, but they hand over to the police officer. Now, citizens are a bit concerned and aware of their rights. They know the police officers try to violate their rights, but they're a bit concerned and aware. Because even in Kenya, it's been made a bit possible that if you arrest me today, you must produce me to court before 24 hours. So whether you have a case against me or don't have a case against me, you must ensure that by tomorrow I'm in court. So sometimes that has forced them to produce people in court before even preparing for the cases. If they arrested you without criminal serious issue, then they will go to court to request that you be so, what do they call it? You be in remand for some period of time as they do investigation, which most of the time the court also refuses. So you're being released on bond. That element of ensuring that people appear in court before has also made it very sometimes hard for police officers to arrest some people. But in protest, they use excessive force. But they always now, like recently, they have covering their faces, which also the court ruled out. A police officer in duty should not cover his face or her face. So they are covering their faces so that in case there's any offense that they commit, they cannot be traced and be arrested. But they're being handed down. They're always being handed down seriously, in fact, by various bodies, and then the media expose them excessively. The government decided to do a reform some time back to incorporate the police officers with the citizens. So they were removed from police camps, most of them, and they were allowed to stay with the citizens in the villages. So today, in a residential apartment, I'm sure there's a police officer in this apartment. You'll find that your next door neighbor is a police officer. This was a way at least to integrate them with the people in the society, so that the people could remove that fear of police officers. So we could have friends to sit down with them who are police officers. Your next door neighbor is maybe a police officer. There's also a lot of now relationship between civilians and police officers, either marital or those are now or relationships. People marry them, and they're allowed to integrate, work freely outside, deal with the people. So there's some level of, even they change the name from police force to police service, but the force is still there. So they have also been trying to reduce the number. They have been raising the qualification to be a police officer from the lowest grade to a bit upper grade. So that I don't know how education also refers to how police officers behave. If they perform poorly, I don't know if they behave also poorly. But those are some of the measures that have been tried to put in place in Kenya. But still, these crackdowns are always orders from above, and they sometimes go ahead. But today, like recently, the Minister of Security said that they are giving order to shoot. In fact, the President said that. And the head of police officers said they will not shoot anything. If you tell them shoot to kill, they say let the minister go shoot and kill. So the moment they are found guilty, the government always jump out and leave them to face the consequences. So they are also trying now to start protecting their work and their reputation. So they know that when they're given wrong order to shoot, when the cases come back, nobody wants to defend them. They're left alone to face it. So that is some of the few things. But In the recent protest, citizens decided also to take what we call corporate responsibility. So if they knew a police officer who shot somebody in the street, they go look for the research about their wives, their family, their kids, where they are, and they start hunting everybody as a citizen. So that the police officers also feel that if they shoot people in the street, will go after you. So even they expose their contact details, people send a message, abuse them, and call them, just in a way to try to control their behavior. But still, that doesn't solve much of the problem we have in this country. That's what I can say on this. If there's anybody want to share something on this, then we can go to the next topic.
Yeah, I can speak now.
Please
Hello?
go ahead, Mr. Chisomo, go ahead.
Yeah, so now over here, the law is very, very clear about the how to hold demonstrations and things like that. So people tend to follow that. And also the demonstrators themselves know their rights as far as arrests are concerned and whatnot, and what they could get arrested for and all these other. So both sides will kind of know their rights and responsibilities. But obviously when things go wrong in terms of damaging property or injuring each other, then it starts, the police will start. Whereas in Malawi, they don't know their rights. Most of the demonstrations in Malawi are funded. So they are led by all these organizations that claim to be rights organizations or human rights organizations, although they can't quote a single human right law. So they are funded. So they'll have taken money from somebody to say, let's say the opposition, to say, go and riot over this and that. And then when they get there, suppose another one gives them money and then they withdraw. So that's what's been happening so far. So apart from the pangas, there's that element of bribery as to go and riot, don't riot, go and riot, don't. They just take money from everybody. But in terms of the law, like you're saying, in your country over here, it doesn't really apply. Or even the dead people that will die or injured, or people whose shops have been looted, they have no redress in any court of law. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
Brother
other comment?
Pigeon,
Yes.
Brother Pigeon, and everybody else in this class, were you to assume presidential office, and during your first year of your first term in office, the people start demonstrating, you have not created enough jobs. You created 5 jobs, but they expected 7 jobs. And they start rioting, demanding your resignation. We know it's unfair, 5 vis-a-vis 7 that you promised, but that's what they're doing because they want to instill regime change. How are you going to act, Brother Pigeon? Are you going to unleash the full force of your security forces to quell these unreasonable protesters, or what would you do? Would you be a despot if you do that? Or else, when does a president or a leader become a despot? I don't know if I'm clear.
Yes, a very good question. Now let's hear what others think about it. Anybody who wants to try to answer to this what Donna Window is trying to say?
Because to go further, I will act like the despot. That's my honest opinion.
I always want to respect, there is a difference between when you're in the position and when you're, speaking from a theoretical point of view. My position is, remember that people have a right to speak, and to also remember that we all have different perspectives. Because I think if people have a right to speak, you have a right to defend your position, but defend your position in a way that doesn't alienate their right to speak. So it's like when you're going through life, you always have people who see things differently. And it depends on how strongly you want to assert what you feel should be done. But to shut them down completely is being unreasonable, because you've got to contend with them saying what they need to say and you giving them an apt reply. That's what I would do. I would just let them be.
Anybody else?
Sister Tapua, you will allow them to depose you?
If I'm deposable, because for every person who's protesting, there are other people at home who support you. So whatever you're doing, if you can justify it, because the fact that the streets are full of people does not mean everybody is against you, which is why we go to vote, which is why everyone has a right to say what they need to say at a time that matters.
Okay.
Brother Pigeon, I don't want a dialogue, but we know that for every protester, there are most probably two others who are supporting you. But those who are supporting you are not coming out. And these people who are demonstrating are now marching towards State House.
Yes.
And they are just 5 minutes away from State House, and your supporters are passive and latent, and they are doing nothing. So your only rescue is to unleash the full force of your security forces. Otherwise, they will storm the palace and they will depose you, unfairly and unreasonably so.
Sorry, it's going to be a dialogue, because I think the line has to be drawn about when to depose someone on whether it's acceptable. Because demonstrations should be demonstrations. They shouldn't be a way to depose anyone. Because that's when you have the security forces stopping people from getting you off the throne. But they shouldn't use force. Just their presence should make it known, because we need to learn to protest. We also need to learn how to remove somebody from office. If our constitutions don't give us a right or a way to do it, because demonstration is not a way to remove someone from office.
Sister Grace, then we'll get to the next topic.
Sorry?
Yeah.
You have Elder Sam as well. So Sister Grace, go ahead, and then Elder Sam.
Yeah. I just also want to give my country example. What Sister Tapua is saying, let them be, I'll let them do, is exactly the approach Peter used to take, the previous president. He would let them speak, freedom of speech, radio stations, whatever. They said whatever they liked. But the mission was to depose him, just like the other speaker is saying. The agenda is to depose, is to remove. And they'll give you an ultimatum, you must leave by such and such a day. His brother was given an ultimatum, you must leave by such and such a day, which he didn't, and we lost him. He died. So Peter let them for fear of what happened to his. I used to think he was doing it for fear of what happened to his brother, or he didn't care if people wanted to to be silly and smash everything, go ahead and let's see where that gets you. So a lot of things happened. If he went out on the road somewhere, he would have to change route because they would be stoning his car like nobody's business. So now this one, who was causing the demonstrations to depose the other, when it's about to happen to him, he immediately stops it. And without demonstrations, because he knows right now people are so angry because they've realized they were cheated over the rerun and they want the other guy back. So when they see this one, they get so angry that they stone them. They will stone him even without demonstration. If he's passing through a group, people know he's coming this route, they'll pick stones. They'll pick stones and throw and stone him. So these days when he's driving through the roads, he has to go at a very high speed. He's known to have knocked people along the way, very high speeds, and I'm talking high speeds. So I'm thinking, how do you run a country if you keep running away from your people? Like I said, no demonstrations, but he's not free to go to any place. So I don't know.
Elder Sam?
Brothers and sisters, I think my input here is that, you know, if I take my country, South Africa, it was easily a case that we can understand when in 1960 our people said we are denouncing this reverence book, past book, we will not carry it anymore, and we say police arrest us. Even there, it was a peaceful demonstration. People just walk to the police station and say, arrest us. We are no longer going to carry this. But it ended up with the white people shooting our people. So I'm saying more or less because it was a clear colonial state then, something like this, even if it's unjustified, we can understand it. But we cannot understand in a so-called democratic country where the constitution has enshrined the Bill of Rights for the people, that when the people have submitted petitions and submitted their outcry against the system, and they come to a point where nobody is responding, and they go out to the streets. Because most of the time when people go out to the streets, it is because the government was not responsive, whether it was a company. In the case of the Marikana massacre, where workers were demanding 12,000 rands in their salary, they were just demanding 12,000 rand, those workers. And the millions of rands that the miners are mining for the companies, the government did not respond, and the only time they responded, it was when they unleashed those lethal weapons against the miners. 34 miners died. Ask me, has the government compensated those people? More or less, it's still a hearsay that the government has agreed to pay. Has the president gone and said to the people in Marikana, we are sorry as the government, this and that? Up till now, that has not happened. So the issue here is the constitution must be the supreme rule that must be observed by both parties, the people and the government. And if that breakdown happens, the use of lethal force, the use of live ammunition are going to earn people. That one should be not even accepted anywhere. The government can use all methods, cannon, water cannons, tear gas. Sometimes people die out of that tear gas. But that is the minimum. The government cannot unleash lethal weapons against its own people in a democracy. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we have been trying to analyze critical situation here. And the question is from Tawindok whether we will it be despots or not? I believe that I don't think people can just wake up to despose you from office if there's nothing wrong you've done.
Brother Pigeon, sorry. Can you move your mic a little bit away from the mouth, maybe?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Now, is it better?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I'm saying that I don't think people can decide to dispose you without any mistake you've done. And because you're elected by the people, what's the problem if people dispose you? Because at the end of the day, you are there to serve the people. If they feel that they don't need your service, let it be. But of course, you can't go extra mile to kill people just to defend your leadership. If you're there to serve people, so you are killing them to serve them. And that's where the problem comes in. But before they reach a level where they want to come to your place of protest to remove you, they can just wake up one morning and say, we're going to remove you. There must be things and signs and symptoms that either you did not react to, you ignored, or you did not get the right intelligence about it. Because sometimes as leaders, we need to be very proactive rather than being reactive. Citizens will be reactive, but a leader don't need to be reactive. So if you know there's an issue going on that may lead to that level, why don't you have some level of discussion or conversation with this? So that even when people come to dispose you, it's very clear that you did your best to try to. But when we say finance bill must go, we reject finance bill. Then you as a president, you want to ignore that. We protested. We told parliamentarians. We sent emails to them. We've reminded them to go ahead and pass the finance bill. We stormed the parliament. We still want to go and sign it. Really? And when we come to say that you want to defend yourself, no. I don't think some of the actions are justifiable. But let's tie this conversation to the next part of this, because that's where we will get us enough time now to holistically look at all these things together. And this next part of it is just very brief. Then we can have 20 to 30 minutes reviewing and discussing this and sharing our opinion on what you think should be done. Now, if anybody, if you allow me, if anybody might be able to read for us some of the despotic regime, which will take around 5 minutes, then we can have this conversation until the end of the hour. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll continue reading.
Okay, sister.
Okay. External props of despotic regimes. After securing the support base, capturing key state institutions, and establishing social control, the next priority for a despotic regime is legitimacy. It is important to demonstrate to the rest of the world that the regime is, in quotation marks, popular and is supported by a large section of the people, including the educated class. A smattering of phoning lawyers, doctors, engineers, and professors accords the despotic regime a veneer of respectability and legitimacy. As we saw, this intellectual support may be purchased outright with Mercedes-Benzes or government posts. Indeed, many intellectuals have succumbed to these enticements and eagerly sold off their principles and integrity to serve the dictators, to serve the dictates of tyrants. Foreign recognition or support is a crown jewel and is actively sought. External props generally compromise the activities and pronouncements of foreign governments, institutions, groups, and individuals that confer respectability, legitimacy, or recognition on tyrant regimes. Typically, props are diplomatic recognition, cultural exchanges, expression of solidarity, economic development assistance, military aid, and economic or military pacts or alliances. In addition, foreign loans from international development agencies such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, as well as membership in international organizations such as the United Nations, all confer respectability on a despotic regime. The despot may use weapons supplied under military assistance programs to suppress the opposition and to strengthen his grip on power. The tanks Hosni Mubarak sent to crush street protests at Tahrir Square on January 29, 2011, and the F-16 jets that buzzed the crowd had been supplied by the United States. The despot may use development aid to fund projects for his supporters or his tribal region and thereby buy loyalty or political support. He may even steal some of the development aid. Between 1981 and 2010, Egypt received more than 50 billion in US aid, but Mubarak was said to have amassed a 25 billion fortune. Can you scroll up, please? For his family since grabbing power in 1981. Thus, various external actors, groups, institutions, and factors have unwittingly contributed to the entrenchment of despotism in post-colonial Africa and elsewhere in the developing countries. In some instances, this role was indirect, benign, or inadvertent, whilst in others, support for despotic regime was more blatant and active. For example, during the Cold War, allies were actively sought by both sides. More recently, the so-called War on Terror and the quest for oil and other strategic minerals have all played to the advantage of the despots. Democracy was not on the priority list of either superpower during the Cold War. Seduced by the charisma and the verbiage of third world despots, the West provided them with substantial military and economic aid. But the heavy Western investment in these tyrants, who were often blatantly corrupt and brutally repressive, invariably drew the ire of the people of the third world. The subsequent overthrow of these dictators often unleashed an avalanche of intense anti-American or anti-Western sentiments. Tensions rose even further when these corrupt ex-leaders almost always managed to escape to the West to enjoy their booty. The Cold War is over, but there are other wars being waged by the United States or the West that have been hijacked by despots to milk the West of financial and military aid. The war on drugs in Latin America, for example, has aided and abated some despotic regimes, especially the caudillos in Latin America. The declaration of the war on terror after the September 11, 2001 terrorist attack in New York, and Washington is another example. Immediately after this declaration, all sorts of scoundrels and crackpot despots claimed that they too were fighting against terrorism in order to receive US aid, when they themselves were the real state terrorists. The regimes of Meles Zenawi of Ethiopia, Omar al-Bashir of Sudan, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, and Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe made such fatuous claims. Even former President Charles Taylor of Liberia established an anti-terrorist unit to terrorize the people. And the warlords of Mogadishu, Somalia, who had been terrorizing residents of the city, formed themselves into the Coalition Against Terrorism and received CIA funding in 2006. The Zenawi regime in Ethiopia has been pocketing over 1 billion in Western aid in its ostensible efforts to fight terrorism. On March 4, 2011, when Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi came under siege by his own people who were seeking freedom, he claimed that he was fighting a war on terrorism and that the terrorists were Al-Qaeda elements. However, it is futile to single out any one particular foreign power for censure. Today's geopolitical landscape is such that any despot can find a foreign patron in the blink of an eye. The United States may embrace a despot who has oil or land to lease for military bases, who can be an ally in the wars on drugs and on terrorism. Russia will support any despicable despot who's rabidly anti-West and seeks nuclear and missile technology. So too will North Korea. The French will support any lunatic who promotes French culture, seeks admission into La Grande France or greater global French community, and protects French economic interests. And China practices chopstick mercantilism, willing to embrace any African despot who has bauxite, chromium, and other mineral deposits. To conclude, the importance of this chapter lies in the fact that knowing the enemy is the first rule of combat. His modus operandi, strengths and weaknesses, the internal and external props that keep a dictator aloft have been identified. As we shall argue in Chapter 7, street demonstrations are not enough. An effective opposition strategy is to sever these props methodically. For example, foreign patrons should be warned that loans given to illegitimate despotic regimes without the consent of the people constitute odious debt that will not be paid back by the people. Yes. Further, unauthorized payments, gifts, or contracts by the illegal regime should be reclaimed, revoked, or returned. For example, in March 2011, Sir Howard Davis, the director of the London School of Economics, resigned after revelation that the institution had been involved in a deal with Gaddafi worth 2.2 million, or about 4 million US dollars, 2.2 million pounds, or about $4 million, to train hundreds of young Libyans to become part of the country's future elite. North America singers Beyoncé and Nelly Furtado said they will return money they received for performing at private parties for the Gaddafi family or donate to charity. And Mrs. Suzanne Mubarak turned over to the state millions in bank accounts in Egypt, as well as a villa, after street protests ratcheted up demands for her prosecution. In sum, sorry, I'm lost. Good. In sum, the modus operandi of dictators is essentially the same. They have a vision for their countries, which cannot be questioned, and all must be forced to follow that vision. Those who do not share that vision are unpatriotic traitors who must be dealt with harshly and re-educated. Instilling fear in the people and thereby forcing or cowering them to submit to the will of the dictator is the basic mode of operation, essentially one of control. To achieve that objective, dictators seize and debauch all key state institutions to serve their will. In order of importance, these are the security forces, the civil service, the media, the judiciary, the electoral commission, and the central bank. Dictators are always looking for supporters to legitimize their rule or vision. Such supporters may be sought both externally and internally. However, control is never and can never be total. Inevitably, cracks emerge in the system through which people make a break for freedom. That's it.
Yes, very interesting things here coming up. I'd like to hear what you people think. The floor is open.
I think my comment is based on the last sentence there. Inevitably, cracks emerge in the system. There is hope. No matter how vicious these guys are, cracks will appear and people will make a break for freedom. I can't wait for the day.
Very interesting, Sister Tapua. Of course, they said in the beginning that despots undergo what you call self-destruction. And sometimes we cannot wait for that. But there's a process where the system undergoes self-destruction. Yeah. I saw you are also laughing at some few things here on the fight against terrorism. What is your thoughts on that?
It's just how cunning they are. Anything that's fashionable, they would, imagine a terrorist body actually claiming to be organizing against terrorism, and the United States pays. That's ridiculous. It also, to an extent, shows how desperate
on terrorism.
Yes.
You wanted to say something, Sauna?
I wanted to say something, but my dog is barking viciously here. But what I'm trying to say on terrorism.
Sauna.
Yes.
Is that terrorist around?
Maybe.
Okay, go ahead.
My president and the deputy director of AFRICOM last week have met in Windhoek discussing terrorism and regional security around the Namibian borders. But Namibia is bordered by South Africa, Zambia, Botswana, and Angola. So I don't know where the terrorists are coming from, where the threat is. So maybe there's just a ploy to siphon American aid in fighting terrorism or establishing a military base for America or whatever the case. I don't see the reason there. Just like the president was with Hakainde Hichilema discussing the situation in the DRC after DRC has already signed their minerals off to America. Where were they all the time? So this thing of terrorism is maybe just a ploy and an avenue towards despotism by my president. Thank you.
Okay. Elder Sam or Sister Kisomo?
Brother Pigeon,
Yes, yes.
most of the despotic, tyrannous leaders and countries, they are most of the time self-serving, but they also are tools used especially by the Western countries. And my problem is where the text says sometimes unwittingly. There's nothing unwittingly. Most of these are planned and pre-planned. If I take my own country here in South Africa, the ANC was born in 1912. But in 1955, the imperialists already smuggled a document which they knew ultimately it will serve their ends to create a state that we are having currently. And as I say, it perpetuates that they continue to rule the countries that they have earmarked, that they have interest in. And in South Africa, because of the mines and all the minerals that the country has, they already introduced that document in 55. So the issue of unwittingly, I'm not content with that. They are planned. They say these imperialists plan 100 years forward. Thanks.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, who is this?
no, I was just about to say, so possibly the unwitting, the reference to unwitting here is referring to our leaders who failed to look 100 years ahead, or who have failed to analyze who the enemy is. That's how they walk into such traps. I mean, imagine going to Trump for anything when you know that he's having a roll call and signing new deals, which simply means siphoning wealth out of you. And you can't then say, I didn't know. You're just being short-sighted. You're looking at the money and nothing else.
Okay. Brother Utu, please come in.
Unfortunately, I couldn't say something, but I just got home, so I can continue also to contribute. But let me share my experience in Harare. 2018, I think around September, I went out to buy some groceries in town, and on my way back, I was staying at Italy. So normally I used to walk just to exercise my body. And then I think just by Nkrumah Avenue or somewhere there, I saw people running all over. Even it was around 4:30 to 5. And so some workers also had closed, and everybody, people in jackets. Then I said, I'm not going to run. They said that they are chasing hawkers. And I'm not going to run because I'm not a hawker. And it's democracy. Would you believe that? And one young, policeman, who maybe my son is older than him, he just approached me. He just hit my shoulder, my left shoulder, with a baton. But I wanted to say why. But then I saw a second one coming. Then I said, no, if I wait for that one to, the two of them may kill me. So I just turned around and I also ran. And the other guy following me, we went and, went into a safety in one of the buildings there. But then thereafter, I asked myself, is this how citizens can be treated in their own land? Just because they want to do something to make money for the day so that they can pay their rent, pay their utilities, pay pay their children's fees and buy food to eat. Is that what should cost them? But then the whole thing is, I have never understood how ZANU. I was before, a strong supporter of ZANU. But after going to Zimbabwe and living there, in fact, I lost interest completely in ZANU, and I could see what some of the opposition, what they say is really true. You see, but then the whole thing is normally they mention the name of Mugabe. Mugabe is gone, but still that dictatorial attitude of a party remains. You see, so you see, one thing that though I know South Africa police also can in the protest which is actually where people are destroying things, they can be brutal in their own way. But I think South Africa is better than Zimbabwe when it comes to, these public protests. You see, the way Zimbabwe police can, be very, very, very brutal to, protest marches and the rest. You may not believe it. You see, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a second point, but let me see. But I can no.
You come back.
I will raise my hand when I remember.
Yeah, you can always come back, Sister Chitoma.
I've been in and out, so I didn't hear the reading. But I can only comment on one statement that I don't know which brother, is it Namibia, who said, I don't know where the terrorists are coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Terrorists are created.
No, Sister Chisomo.
Hello?
Sister Chisomo,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes.
In fact, the book says that when they themselves are the real terrorists.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So that answers it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That answers it. That's what I was going to say, that we know where the terrorists come from. They'll be saying to you, oh, there are terrorists in your country, there's so-and-so in your country, when it's actually them bringing them in to then come in as humanitarians and all this stuff. That gives them access. And once they've had access, everything else happens. And the terrorism will never stop. So the same people who are saying are helping you are the ones who are sending them in. So as you're saying, we're surrounded by South Africa, blah, blah, blah. Where are they coming from? So they are created, they are recruited, they are placed in certain places to do certain things. They are given names. Where do these names come from? ISIS, Jihad, whatever. They've all got different names. The names that are always announced by them, nobody else tells us that the terrorists are called this and that. We only hear the name from America. So anyway, yeah, that's what I was going to say about the terrorism bit.
It's very interesting. Today on the Baba Show, I had a conversation about these foreign military bases. And in my discussion, I was having one person with a manager of a private hospital, a very big private hospital in the community. Another guy was a CS accountant who are actually slums in the Baba Show. Then the discussion was whether we need to have these foreign military bases. And they were saying, yes, we need them. We talk to them, please. If today is Kenya, how do we defend ourselves? So we need foreign military bases to train with our soldiers, to make them prepared to fight. And I asked them, in Kenya, it's a very common sense that in one of the area where we have British military bases in America, where we have British military base, which is called Batu, the Batu. Around that area, there's a cattle rustling, which is a long practice of stealing cattle, and then people fight. But one of the former regional commandants, who is now a politician, he said that those terrorists, those bandits, have sophisticated guns than the Kenya police officers. Where do they get the guns? Automatically from the next camp of the Batu, those pretend to be doing training here in Kenya, in the military base. Those people training there have never come out to fight or help in Al-Shabaab attacks for Kenya's close to Somalia, and we have more Al-Shabaab attacks. In fact, where Al-Shabaab do attacks in the coastal part of Kenya, somewhere close to Mombasa, next to there, we have a US military base. They have never gone there to stop it. If you read the AFRICOM report, for the years AFRICOM have been in Africa, the more terrorist groups have also been increasing. Where do the terrorists buy guns? Even not from America. The president of Kenya is implicated in reports recently that he's the one who is funding guns in Sudan war. And this is through his collaboration from the United Arab Emirates. The guns pass through the port of Mombasa to Kenya to Sudan. The head of Janjaweed, General Hemedi, is here in Kenya. They launched a parallel government here in Kenya. And the same Kenya which funds the so-called Sudan is the same country that hosted all heads of chief of commanders or what? Chief commanders of military across Africa here in Kenya. They were hosting them. Just the other day, President of Kenya was the one who was hosting the SADC and nothing, or something like that, DRC peace talk, while he's the one funding the bases in the war in Sudan. And then they claim that AU has said that you've now silenced the weapon. Really? So,
and if you remember when that American guy came, the black one, the one who came to Kenya, he was holding the commander, the
Is it Langley or what was his name?
What is his name?
Langley.
Langley. Yeah, that one. Do you remember him saying, we are monitoring terrorism in the area. Anti-terrorism is increasing in Burkina Faso. I've been monitoring it's increasing, so we want to help him. So that's how they gain access. They create, they bring, then they say, oh, can we help you? Obviously, Traore knows their games and he's been in it. He knows their games and he wasn't going to accept their help. But these other countries will say, oh, yes, can you help us? Because we've got intelligence, because we've got this intelligence and intelligence and intelligence. I posted a video on the group. It says, my comment was that this is scary. This is scary stuff. The guy in the video explains how they are recruited, how they are armed, what they do when they get there. This one was sent to Gaza, and how he got there, how they were armed, how they get in, how they are given the visas, what type of visas to go into the country. In his case, they were given tourist visas. So they go in armed. How do you get in as a terrorist with arms? So they go in. So they are placed in, they are told they're going to humanitarian to protect the Gaza people, the Palestinians. So which means they sit with the Palestinians, and yet they have been sent by the same people who are killing them, the Israeli side. So they go in, then they are with the Palestinians, claiming there are aid groups coming to give them food. But the history tells us that, the story tells us that the Palestinians are not being given anything, they are starving. And he confirms it. They placed that in a place very, very far from the people who were supposed to feed. So obviously they can't feed them. But at the same time, because they've got arms, they use those arms to drive them to certain directions. So at night, they'll just start shooting. Randomly, just start shooting. So these people will start running. If you remember the Rwanda Tutsi, what's it? People were just moving in droves. Who is directing them or who is pushing them to that direction? You could not see, but people kept walking in the same direction. So this is what happens with you can hear the bullets because he took videos, he took films. These people are running, and at night they'll just start running in the same direction. So the guns up, the shooting is kind of directing them to a certain direction, obviously trying to drive them away from Gaza or whatever. But in the process, the bullets are killing them. Or the whole street will be strewn with dead bodies. And then in the morning it will be, what happened? All these bodies. Oh, we don't know. We don't know who did it. It must be the terrorists. I can't remember what the terrorist group is called over there. It must be the terrorists. It must be the terrorists. And he said, but we did it. People were being shot. Oh, we don't shoot civilians. We only shoot in the air and the legs. We don't shoot midway because you kill them, you hit the body. So you shoot up in the heads or in the feet. But their bodies everywhere by the daylight. So they come in as and when he's mentioning the name of the terrorists, he's doing quotations, meaning we are the same people as the terrorists, or we are the terrorists. So there you go. It's a very, very worrying video, that video. It's really, really telling.
Sister Chisomo, please repost.
Okay, because he is an ex-army officer. So he says, I've been in the system. I've been to this country, this country, this country, this country, this country, doing the same thing, doing this country. He's been in the army, what did he say, 45 years or something like that? So he's now an ex whatever. But they recall them. They recall all the ex-ones. They recall them. And because of whatever they sign when they join these things, I suppose he can't say no, I don't know. So they're recruited back as now these people who go in as humanitarian people, but armed. He says we were armed with pistols and this and that and this and that, uniform combat, and then we go in claiming they're going to give food to these people, but at night they're busy shooting them. Very sad.
Very interesting.
This is why.
Any other comment?
So this is why we need to look at aid with suspicion.
Mm-hmm. But Trump has been telling us from the last administration, this aid thing, he even mentioned Malawi in his examples. All these Clintons and Bill Gates and whoever coming to Africa claiming they're bringing aid. It's all fake. He wanted to close the UN, all these people, because it's the same chain. But the African will always, UN this, oh, we've asked you and this, we've asked. They are creating all these things and then coming in as humanitarian. Then the people they've been chasing away, all these Palestinians, will end up as refugees here. They'll come as asylum seekers, or they'll go through the boats. Even those boats, who supplies them? Africa has no such dingy boats. Where do they come from? They never tell us. Who supplies them? They only show us when they get to the destination. Oh, today there were so many boats. Oh, and these people have got life jackets. They've got. Where are these coming from? They are still taking our people by boats and claiming, oh, this, and that. Who is organizing all these people? Where do these boats start from? Tell us.
Yeah.
So when you talk aid, that is the aid. So now they're coming telling you that they're sorting out the terrorists. They are the terrorists. They create these people, they recruit them. And white people are very, very loyal. If they have to be recruited to go in a certain country to go and fight, they will do it. Even if they know that they're only there to kill those people, they will still do it.
Yes, they will do it for their survival.
They do.
Just like they will be sensitive towards animal, and they name it animal cruelty, but when it comes to killing Africans,
yes. As far as they're concerned, we are still not human. We are still their property. Like somebody, I can't remember which video that says, we are still their property as far as they're concerned. And they'll never give us a chance. Never.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think Brother Sam would remember 2 years ago, American embassy, they wanted to bring some Afghanistan citizens. They refused to take them to America, but then they took them through, I think, whether from Kenya or somewhere East Africa, all the way they want to let them enter South Africa by road. Then that time, Aaron Musaledi, who was the minister of Home Affairs, said that no, he's not going to allow those guys. Even that one, I think he got a tip because they wanted to just come, I mean, quietly through the borders because they know that it is a bit loose at the border. You see, so this minister, in fact, the whole matter went to court. Why the minister would not allow these Afghan refugees to enter South Africa? And the question, South African government also said that why South Africa, but not Zimbabwe, but not other countries that they were passing to? Eventually, the court also ruled in favor of the government. And then I think a year later, some Libyan citizens were found in Mpumalanga being trained by white South Africans. And the question was, for what purpose? They said that, oh, they come for their training so and they go back to fight in their war. But then the point is, why South Africa? And then these people were caught because some of them, I think, went to town and they went and mishandled a lady. And out of that, the lady reported to the police that there are some foreigners that have done this, done that, they wanted to rape her. So that is what exposed the whole thing. But as to why those people were being trained in South Africa, but you see, since 2008, I have watched and monitored and found that, you see, CIA wants to cause some commotion in this country. And they are trying to find all ways that they can use to come on, maybe just get something violent happening. Even the earlier stages of this xenophobic, which started from 2008 coming, in fact, I know that they were part of those things, you see. So, like our sister has been saying, that actually they are the ones who sponsor all these, whether they create them and sponsor them. But the point is, why do they do that? It's just to embarrass some government or just to have their own way, the way they want to make us feel insecure so that we will open our doors and tell them that come. And when they come also, what do? They loot the country. Nothing else. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, we are coming to an end of this chapter. I believe we have exhaustively discussed and looked at the models of operandi of dictators. We've seen at the last moment on how also when the dictators now they in power. We have seen how they control the state protest. We have also seen how the dictators actually control elections, how they deal with, how they create fake states of emergency, martial laws, how we've seen how they bungle elections, how they deal with judiciary. We've seen how it's the models of running, how they cut internet and radio jam, how
Brother Pig, sorry, I'm struggling with your sound. I'm not sure
So,
what's going on.
so do
Qual-
I. So
can you
do
hear
I.
me now?
Say
Hello?
something again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but it's the quality of the sounds. The words are merging into each other so that we can't quite make sense of where your words are breaking.
But can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now, I was saying that we have seen various tactics of dictators, including all those that have been passing by, criminal murder and disappearance, how they do arrest and detention, how they license and censor media stations. We've looked at their support base, how they control key institutions. We have looked at why they need a military on their side, how they play tribal card, and so many other means and tactics of dictators. In this chapter 4, which is the modus operandi of despotic regime, I believe now we can confidently say we now know what a dictator looks like, how they operate, and therefore,
Yeah, he looks like Museveni.
now in our next chapter, we will be going to chapter 5. And now we'll be we'll be looking at how now we deal with those dictators. And as the author has winded by saying, you need first of all to understand the dictator, their strength, and all those other things. I think that's the word I will end with, which the author says somewhere that in conclusion, why did he say that? Sister Mara read somewhere, or Peter Paul read somewhere, that in conclusion, the dictators operate. Why is it? Yeah, he said in the first, to conclude, this is what I will highlight. Let me highlight that. Yeah, here. To conclude, the importance of this chapter lies in the fact that knowing the enemy that's operandi, strength, and weaknesses. And therefore, our chapter 5 will be on the demise of despotic regime. In case there is that demise, or it is automatic, they undergo self-destruction. Sister Tapua?
Oh, I wanted us to go back to the last paragraph there in chapter 4, because I think that's a very important indicator of what we need to do. Because whilst we now know, sorry, can you scroll down a bit, please? No, I think it's the previous paragraph, the one above that one. Yes, that's where we are. The one that says there, further, because I think it's how to deal with them, which is what I'm interested in. Because you're starting there with, for example, foreign patrons should be warned that loans given to illegitimate despot regimes without the consent of the people constitute odious debt that will not be paid back by the people. I think this is the Traore way. We don't need to pay this back, and they should know it. We don't need to have our governments be tied down by what Ruto has borrowed. When a new one comes in, these people who are supporting these guys should know that they have lost and they will lose.
That is what Sankara says. If you read Sankara's speech in 1984 or 86, he said that those people are gambling. When they're giving loans, they are making profit. When they make a loss, that is it. So they don't come and ask us about their loan. That's what basically Sankara said in the speech in OAU. But yes, anyway, Mr. Tapua.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
If you refuse to pay the loan, America will kill you.
They won't kill us.
Let them go kill whoever they gave money to.
It's playing on fear. Playing on fear. They need us. We need each other.
Okay, we are coming to an end of this slide.
They need us. They need us more than we need them, because we don't get the raw material from them.
Yes, Sawindo, we are doing this one, and Mohammed will just join us now, but we are coming to an end of this, so we hope you join us next time a bit earlier. And is it the first, second time joining us? I hope you will also join us more. And yes, and
what did you say?
I said this is the second time joining us, and we hope you'll join us more time to move on.
Okay.
Mohammed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know it's your first time joining us. Maybe you introduce yourself, even though you have come to an end.
Yes, I am Kujawi Mohammed. I'm from the Gambia, but currently I reside in South Korea. I used to be a member of the group, but then I attended a few sessions. Due to the time difference, because right now I am in South Korea, and it's like 6 after 5 a.m. in the morning. So due to the time difference, I find it difficult to attend the sessions. But I will try as much as possible to attend some of the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for the sacrifice you're making to be with us at this moment. Now, I will say that, hope you have my contact. Because whenever you got this invite, probably that was my contact. Reach out to me and we'll see how we can move forward together. I'll share with you the link and probably update you on anything else. Is that okay, Mohammed?
Yes, that's fine. Yes, I have your WhatsApp contact.
Okay.
And I've been receiving some of the invites from you.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, comrades. Let's look forward to chapter 5. I believe it was an interesting chapter 4. Thank you very much for your sacrifice, for your time, and for your dedication. It's good sometimes to study, because by studying, we learn a lot. Thank you for now, and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.